Academic writing skills is a two-part video series. In this first part of the academic writing series, I will show you how to write minutes of meetings, official memoranda, and reports. I will also teach you how to plan and write argumentative and descriptive essays. We begin with the basic rules of essay writing. You start your essay with an appropriate title or heading that encapsulates the content of the discussions. You need to remember to write in full, grammatically correct sentences that form logically linked paragraphs. And it should also develop coherent arguments, and you should cite all the references that you use in text. Do not list ideas in point forms, nor should you tabulate any of your contents in your essay, unless you are expressly asked to do such a thing. Do not add any headings or numbering within the short essay. The essay is usually between 2 to 3 pages in length, which does not need any chunking of information into separate sections. We expect free-flowing ideas from a simple topic. Use the relevant theory and application to structure your paragraphs and link information to the main topic in a logical way. Now we discuss the 5 basic steps of the essay writing process. Firstly, you need to plan the essay by brainstorming various ideas, concepts, and theories that you will include in your essay in relation to the identified topic. You can present your brainstorming in whichever form you prefer, such as a mind map, a list, a table, or a spider diagram. Whatever method you choose, it has to be a logical presentation of your ideas and the themes that you want to expand on in your essay. You cannot present a random collection of points, as brainstorming is a structured approach to planning a coherent, professional, and logical flow of arguments related to a particular topic. In your plan, you need to have a thesis statement. This thesis statement outlines the topic and the scope of the topic that you will cover. For the argumentative essay, the thesis statement will also include a position that you take in your argument. Thereafter, you need to include a paragraph breakdown. This should include 1 topic sentence per paragraph, 2 to 3 substantiating points to support the main argument, as well as the sources of information that you will use to support these arguments. Step 2 involves researching these theories in your plan by looking for credible sources of information on the internet or in the library database. As you do this, you will need to update and refine your plan. This plan will help you to write your first draft of your essay. Step 3 is the development of your first draft. The first draft is usually your initial writing attempt that would include some information that is not relevant and might also include language and grammar errors. This brings us to step 4, which involves polishing the first draft by rereading it and editing it to develop a final draft that you will submit in the final step of the process. Now I want to show you the difference between the 2 types of essays. I will discuss the argumentative essay first. The argumentative essay requires substantiation of a point of view. This is done by stating the thesis statement clearly in the introduction of your essay. The thesis statement should state the position that you are taking in the argument, and this position must be retained throughout the essay. You need to develop all your arguments in relation to this position that you take and provide supporting evidence to form arguments from different credible sources of information and citing them in text. It is important to state alternative views in such a way that your original position stands out in your essay. Arguments should not contradict the position that you have taken in the beginning. The descriptive essay, on the other hand, provides an in-depth discussion of the topic without taking a position. Again, you need to begin with a thesis statement. However, in a descriptive essay, the thesis statement outlines the topic of the discussion and the scope of the topic that you will cover. For example, if the topic is interpersonal communication in the workplace and you want to cover only a specific part of this topic, such as the effects of interpersonal communication on motivation, then you need to state this in your thesis statement so that your readers know what aspects you will cover. Again, you need to provide supporting arguments for each of your topic sentences outlined in your plan by using various credible sources of information and citing them in text. Presenting different perspectives on the topic can enhance your arguments and should also be supported with substantiating arguments with references. Now, I will show you how essays are structured. All essays essentially contain three elements, namely the introduction, the body, and the conclusion. The thesis statement should appear in the introduction, usually as the first sentence or the last sentence of this paragraph. The introduction also provides an overview of the topic under discussion, followed by a brief outline of the main topics that you will cover in the body of the essay. The introduction usually contains only one paragraph of about 4 to 6 sentences in length. The body of the essay presents the main arguments and substantiations of the discussion. It should be divided into paragraphs, preferably between 4 to 6 paragraphs for a short essay. Structure each paragraph into about 6 sentences, which will include your supporting information and in-text references. All paragraphs should flow coherently and should be logically linked to the main topic. In other words, when I read your work, I can follow the arguments from one paragraph to the other. The conclusion is the final part of the essay and should ideally summarize the main points made in the body. No new information should be included in the conclusion. In the argumentative essay, the conclusion should reiterate the position taken and should also summarize the main arguments. For a descriptive essay, the conclusion should simply round up the discussions and summarize the main points. We have completed the discussion of the 2 types of essays applicable to this course. Now we learn how to draw up the minutes of organizational meetings. Minutes of meetings are a formal record of the proceedings and discussions of a meeting that captures specific details in a required format. Some administrative details need to be captured in the header, such as the title that captures the type of meeting and the main purpose of the meeting, the date, time, place of the meeting, and the name of the person capturing the minutes. In the body, you need to write out each of the points outlined in the agenda that was given prior to the meeting. And it should include core discussions of each of the items in the agenda. The first item on the agenda is generally the welcome and announcements, followed by the apologies received for anyone unable to attend the meeting. What follows is a collective approval of the minutes of the previous meeting, where applicable, which can be accepted with or without amendments. After the details of each of the items on the agenda have been discussed and noted down, the date and time of the next meeting, as well as any items for the agenda that need to be discussed, are announced and held over to the next meeting. The minutes conclude with the time that the meeting ends. Okay, now we learn how to write a memorandum. The memorandum or memo is an official organizational document from management and usually has three purposes: to bring attention to organizational problems, to solve problems or suggest solutions to existing issues in the organization, or to circulate important information to staff members, which could range from training opportunities, changes in the organization, or announcing events. Memoranda can be very short and could be conveyed in 2 to 3 sentences. However, they are usually between 1 to 4 paragraphs in length. Memoranda should not be long, as staff would not read all the information in the document that aims to announce important information. The following information should appear in the header in the following order: the name of the organization, the heading memo or memorandum, the name and position of the person who has sent the memorandum, the intended recipients of the memo, the date that the memo has been circulated, and the subject matter of the document. Finally, we will discuss the long and short report. The report is a very difficult document to write. It involves various steps to write up a coherent and logical sequence of events, and it is divided into various parts, sections, or chapters. It involves the identification of a problem and the sub-problems, and recommends possible solutions to these problems. There are various types of reports, such as a financial report, a progress report, a cost and benefit analysis report, and so on. The long report is a long official organizational document. It is very detailed, and it is divided into various sections and subsections that can be called chapters as well. It is based on thorough research. Therefore, a list of sources is provided and in-text references are cited. The usual structure that is followed is an introduction that outlines the terms of reference and the background of the study or the problem at hand, relevant conclusions and a methodological approach to solving the problem, the final recommendations to solve the problem, and the final list of sources consulted at the back. The short report, on the other hand, is an abridged version of the long report, and this is what we use for the assessments in this course. It is very concise and follows a certain structure. You should follow this structure: the heading and the title of the report, the introduction, which should be written in paragraph format, the findings, conclusions, and recommendations, which should contain a numbered list that should be logically linked. This means that the first finding should lead to the first conclusion, which should lead to the first recommendation, and so on. We usually provide you with a scenario to ascertain your findings and base your conclusions and recommendations thereon. This requires a higher level of cognitive thinking and reflection. This is where we end this video for now. The next video will continue with the second part of the applied writing series.